Welcome to Book Club for Movies, everybody, for the week of September 30th. I'm Ryan Miller, and he's the kind that's never satisfied. It's Matt Amberg.
Wow. I don't know that that's true, but...
I don't know either. I just pull a quote from the... I do have a few, but it needed to be important.
Okay, that's fair.
And this one, if you finish it, goes... You'd eat the last cookie in the jar. I'm telling you something. There's no more cookies in the jar. And there aren't. But even if there was, you'd eat it. And you'd go looking in the fridge for my pie stash.
Nope.
At which point my wife turns to me and says, he has a pie stash? You're right. He's a pie stash. Book Club for Movies, everybody. We talk about one movie that we watched during the week. We hope you do the same. This week, it was Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. If you couldn't tell from that quote already, the famous quote, the pie stash quote.
Pie stash, that's right.
Matt, do you have a synopsis for this?
Oh, yes, I most definitely do. It's very short, sweet, and to the point. I was going to say to the Peter Fonda, and I just quit because it just didn't feel good.
That's fine. I'll take it out.
Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, going to come at you in an hour and 33 minutes. Written by Lee Chapman and Antonio Santin. Directed by John Hugh. Starring Peter Fonda, Susan George, Adam Rourke, Kenneth Tobey, and here is your Book Club for Movies synopsis for Dirty Mary, Crazy Lawrence. Stolen money is all it takes to build a car for Larry, an aspiring driver, so he could join the NASCAR circuit. After a mostly successful supermarket robbery, Larry, his mechanic Deke, are joined by self-invited Mary as the three try to escape the cops, keep the cash, and survive each other.
And an uncredited Roddy McDowell, I'll have you know.
Yeah, it does. For 4 seconds.
My wife pointed that one out, actually. She's like, oh, it's the guy from all the Disney movies.
Yeah, except also Planet of the Apes, lady.
Yes.
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. This includes no planets
and
or
Fright
apes.
Night.
This is a movie, like you said, about apparently aspiring race car drivers. Which I didn't get till halfway through. I accidentally read the IMDb and it was like NASCAR aspiring race car drivers. And I'm like, oh, is that what's going on? Is that their...
Yeah, it is a line early on in the movie as like a passing thing. Like, this is all we need.
And there's a few of those. Mostly those, maybe even. So I've never heard of this movie before you mentioned it last week.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And nobody else had heard of this movie because that podcast isn't even out yet.
But it was posted on our Twitter. So.
But you mentioned it, and it's the one we watched. What do you know about this thing? Where are you coming from?
Oh, nothing. I've seen the movie. I like Peter Fonda films. I like car chase movies. It was made in the 70s. I mean, I don't know what else you want from me.
Okay, so this was more of a case of things were quiet for long enough that you blurted out another 70s movie that's just always at the forefront of your mind.
It's just a movie. I do think about it. It's kind of funny that way.
And it's funny in several other ways also.
Okay, tell me all of them.
We've already got the funniest pie stash out of the way, so there's that.
I think this movie is hilarious, man. This movie makes me laugh in a lot of ways.
Oh, yes. I laugh. Okay, do you think we're supposed to laugh, though, the whole time?
Oh, yeah, I hope so. I hope that, like... I don't know anybody that doesn't laugh at this movie. Like,
I just don't know... if that was the intention. I know certainly at some points. Okay.
No, there were definitely jokes in there. That's really...
Oh, yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, no, I'm not saying... And for the most part, those land. This movie has a couple things going for it, and I will give it these things. It's got that 70s charm, and that might just be because it was made in the 70s. I couldn't tell you if maybe it has some specific or unique 70s charm about it, but it's just a movie you look at that was made in the 70s that has Peter Fonda in it. In fact, a lot of what I'm talking about might just be, I might just reword, it has Peter Fonda in it.
That's true. And Susan George, I actually the three leads. Yeah, I love Susan George. I love Adam Rourke. I love Deke is actually one of the best parts of the movie for me.
Yes, he is. He is. And Peter Fonda honestly never does a bad job.
No.
In fact, the thing that always comes to my mind, who never does a bad job, he's probably has won Oscars or something. I don't know. He's Peter Fonda. Everybody knows Peter Fonda. Easy Rider himself, I think, is chosen to be Satan in Ghost Rider for the reasons that he's chosen to be... What's his name in this thing?
Larry?
Larry. Oh. Is that it? I'm just now making the connection. Larry in this film, and that's because he's not Cary Grant. And I know that sounds like the stupidest thing to say, but I feel like whenever we've done a 70s film, we've kind of mentioned how the 70s films are those things where there's a loss of innocence involved, right? Cary Grant's the guy that, at most, maybe you know him from the Hitchcock movies where maybe he's not perfect.
Sure.
But even then, I feel like that's a stretch, right? Along come the 70s, and along come leading men like Peter Fonda that aren't afraid to be anti-heroes, I guess is the easy moniker.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're not afraid to get dirty, which is too appropriate, I feel like, than this movie deserves.
Sure.
It's a good movie. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm being too harsh on it already.
Whoa, okay, whoa. You're coming out of the gate here with good movie.
This
All right.
movie's dirty. It's a dirty movie.
But it's good. It's good dirty. You just said so.
And I think Peter Fonda is great at that. Like, he is that through and through. Like, there's what was the other one we saw him in? It was
Easy Rider.
Oops, I left the camera on. Soderbergh.
Oh, yeah.
Limey, the Limey.
The Limey, yes.
He's the bad guy in the Limey.
Yes.
And he does that here. He does that great here. He does it in prototypical fashion because this is many, many years before that.
In many ways, the character is he's a more almost cynical version of Captain America from both the Marvel films and from Easy Rider, and part of that I think comes from with him in with him in Easy Rider. I mean, he's baked, he's stoned all the time. So.
No, this is obviously a 1-to-1. In fact, this is after Easy Rider, right?
Yeah. Easy Rider was 69 or something, 68.
Yeah, at least.
And this was 73, 75.
So in a way, sure, still riding that wave.
No, I just think like if you watch this and then Easy Rider, there's a dotted line with Fonda in general between all of his roles for the most part. But,
sure.
But these two are pretty, there's a connection there between the two characters. And I feel like it's necessary in some way. And it's definitely, I think it's definitely purposeful. I don't think that was like an accident.
No, absolutely. I mean, at worst, it's a zeitgeist thing, like, or maybe it wasn't purposeful, but this is just the way things were going back then.
Sure.
But no, it's absolutely one of those. And I think what I'm dancing around is that I just am not sure that it has as much or much more to offer than that. Like Easy Rider, like paper after paper has been written about that thing till the end of time.
This is not Easy Rider.
It's not. Yeah, I guess that's unfair.
It's not even trying to be. I'm just comparing the characters and the way he played them. That's all.
Maybe the other comparison you made that is apt, if only, or maybe more instructional than apt, is to Smokey and the Bandit.
Sure.
Which maybe this is Smokey and the Bandit if it were made, well, whatever it actually was, 3 years earlier. I know that doesn't seem like a long time. But Smokey and the Bandit has this, I feel like, overall loving quality to it.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, again, this is a cynical movie. Like, this is cynical in a lot of ways, whereas Smokey and the Bandit is not. Not at all.
No, not at all.
Smokey and the Bandit is completely built on the good guys beating the bad guys, even though the good guys are doing something technically illegal. It's not hurting anybody. Nobody's really getting impacted. And it's for something ridiculous, but hilariously also for NASCAR.
Right. Yeah.
It's a much more lighthearted thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, you do that comparison and it is the three people, the three characters. You got the two guys, the girl, the fast car, the chasing the cops, there's the getting away with the loot, and in Smokey's case it's beer.
And it probably is as simple as that. This is a more cynical movie, and I think the cynicism comes largely from the movie itself. I know that's weird. So one of the things I keep okay.
The fact that we've already said this much about this movie is blowing my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably too in my head about this thing, but that's what I do. Welcome to the show. I think what ended up occupying my head more than anything is the role of Dirty Mary. I keep getting them.
Of Mary,
I want to say Dirty Larry, Dirty Mary, right?
Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry.
Right.
The crazy guy is driving.
I became so focused on Dirty Mary's character because she's in the title of the movie, and Edgar Wright has actually a really funny quote about this thing because he cited it as inspiration for Baby Driver in some ways. But he's like, well, why isn't it Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, and Deke? Like, Deke's in the movie just as much as any. In fact, he's in the movie
more than Mary.
Mary, yeah. And that was one of the things that initially threw me off is because she shows up at the beginning of the movie as somebody that Peter Fonda has slept with and then leaves.
See,
and I don't know why I thought this because there's a woman's name in the title. I guess we don't know that's Mary at that point. But I thought that was going to be the last we saw of her. It was not. Like, she came back. She is the titular Mary.
She is. I like the character.
But
she does nothing for the movie. Like, she doesn't push anything.
Man,
she doesn't push anything. She doesn't move anything along at any point.
In fact, to a really large detriment, like, she kind of just ends up being a punching bag.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm gonna keep mentioning Smokey because Sally Field is a force in that movie. And I don't know what else has Susan George been in. Am I not giving her credit?
No, she's been in a number of things.
Okay.
And
I would like to see her in something better.
The one that I'm thinking of, I was just talking to Beth about it. Straw Dogs from 1971. And
unfamiliar.
So Straw Dogs,
nice title.
Straw Dogs is a peck and paw movie for one.
Oh.
So it's going to be rough.
Better.
It also and it stars early Dustin Hoffman.
Huh.
It's a harrowing tale of two they moved somewhere, and I feel like they moved to like London or somewhere like outside like the countryside of England.
So far it sounds like maybe we should have done this movie. Instead. I'm sorry. Again, I'm being too harsh.
But essentially, she's really great in that movie. It's another movie where she is essentially the punching bag, except way more violently. Like
really,
she gets beaten. Yeah.
Okay, I guess this isn't. In fact, there's a moment of violence that Deke stands up for at some point. So yeah, this is more just kind of great because it is so she's just so looked down upon. And
she doesn't fight back like Sally Field does. Like Sally Field's character in Smokey does not take the crap. Like she throws it right back at him.
No, Mary in this movie loses every battle pretty much.
When she shows up, the first thing she says is combative towards Burt Reynolds. Like she immediately says something like just stop talking and just go. Something like that, where she's like, there is, that she is not going to take any of the crap. Whereas Mary is totally there as, she's kind of, in many ways, she's the part of Larry that like the good part of Larry that just like, not that he's a bad guy. It's just,
I don't know.
That's kind of the part that he's like, I could listen to that and I'd probably be better for it, but I'm just going to beat the crap out of it and punch it down and get rid of it altogether.
So that was part of the thing I was wondering throughout. I'm like, do we get to the point where, like at some point I wrote down the word incorrigible felon, which I feel like isn't an impossibility.
No, not at all.
But Peter Fonda's played kind of so darkly here and not, I don't think ever really redeemed.
No.
Like it never gets to the point where you're like, okay, he's got this about him, but he's still the protagonist. Like I don't even think that, obviously, and I guess maybe that is purposeful because Deke is maybe meant to occupy that space. Like he is portrayed as the good guy or the better guy that can't get out from underneath Larry's shadow for a reason I don't know.
Well, he's the mechanic. So Larry's the driver, Deke's the mechanic, and that's the thing. It's like Deke understands all the stuff that needs to happen. Larry doesn't care. He just wants to drive.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get the roles. But
basically, this movie is Talladega Nights.
It doesn't go as deep as Talladega Nights, I would say.
It does not.
There is a little bit of that in the third act where I feel like it's supposed, because the team kind of breaks apart and she gets fed up and she takes off, and this has happened at least 2 other times, and Larry is kind of like, whatever, I don't care. And there's never a moment where he's kind of like his conscience nags at him and he's like, and he goes back and gets her. Like, that never actually happens.
Right.
And this time Deke ends up going and they connect, and she sits in the back seat with him from then on out. But there's a conversation that takes place at that point where he's just like, I'm his mechanic. Like, what can I do? And I'm like, I don't, like, it's unearned. Like, I don't get, I mean, I get what they would have liked to have been going for,
Sure.
I get that line works in a different movie that's constructed well before and after. This didn't quite get there. So it's a little hollow. But again, probably overthinking it. It's not that I wasn't having fun watching the thing. I just don't know if it was for the right reason most of the time.
Look, man, this movie is about a robbery and a car chase. It's about a Dodge Charger.
For the last half, sure.
Yeah, well, God, I wish they had gotten that car. I always wish they get the car. Like, they only get it for the last half hour of the movie, or so. Which, I mean,
they're driving a blue Chevy before that or something.
It's an Impala, yeah.
There's some decent amount of camera work and stunts around the cars, and there's a helicopter that figures in pretty prominently towards the end. Like, that was almost early Fast and Furious there that I don't think I've seen in a lot of other films.
I love the car chases, and the camera work in this movie is fantastic. The car chases I love them. I love the stunt work in the cars is pretty great. And these are, there is something to be said for the absolute knowing there is a complete lack of safety when they're doing this. They're like, you can do it. And he's like, yeah, I got it. Some stunt drivers.
It's Peter Fonda in that car most of the time doing, I want to say when they got tagged a couple times too, it was him driving out of that.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the guy, he rode the motorcycles for Easy Rider, and this is well before insurance companies were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I actually don't think the insurance company thing came up until, I actually think that might have kicked off with Vic Morrow and the Twilight Zone.
Oh, was he? So Vic Morrow in this movie also, actually.
Did
you know that when you said
connective tissue? I didn't, but that's hilarious. Where was Vic Morrow?
He's actually one of my other favorite parts. Is he plays the kind of loose cannon captain.
The captain. Yeah.
And he's always going back and forth with his, I don't know if it's a sergeant or whatever it is, but I thought he was a delight as well.
Good. No, he's real fun. He's real fun.
Perfect look. Just all of his lines, just complete. You've heard them all before, and I can't remember a single one. But he was a lot of fun.
It's good.
And honestly, I don't know if I have much more to say beyond that. I don't know if the comparisons to Smokey and the Bandit and or whatever the other movie was, I forgot already.
Easy Rider.
Easy Rider are doing it any favors. Well, but I also don't. It doesn't change the fact that I think material isn't as strong here. Like, there are times where this movie, and part of it's the 70s thing, so okay, is darn near undecipherable. And when it is, it kind of feels like it was written by a team of 5-year-olds, where one 5-year-old kind of really knew what he was doing, though.
Are you talking about the dialogue?
Like, some of the exchanges between Peter Fonda and Dirty Mary are ridiculous. Like, at one point she storms off and says goodbye, and he says hello, in a snotty way. Like, it must be on purpose because it's so ridiculous.
I mean, in a lot of those back and forths, it's just him being contrary.
But it's extremely childish. Like, he is the most childish character I've seen in a movie for a long time.
Well, and I think that's Crazy Larry. That's, he is. I mean, you think about everything he does, he kind of does act like a teenager the entire movie. And
teenager's old.
So I am curious, though, getting into spoilers for a movie that's 500 years old.
Yeah, and we haven't even gone beat by beat, and we can spoil. Honestly, I don't have much more, so whatever you got.
So the final car chase where they get everybody gone, they're able to get through, and we get to the end of the movie. How did you feel about that car chase and the payoff at the end of that?
Oh, I guess we should talk about the ending.
It's it's a relatively important note on the film.
Sure. So, you remember the Italian? No, not the Italian Job. I'm sorry.
I do remember
French Connection.
Movie. Yes, I do.
This is going to do this movie even more favors. Where you kind of wonder if the movie is going to force Popeye Doyle on you as a good guy in the end. And it doesn't. Popeye Doyle is irredeemable at the end of that movie. I have much the same feelings throughout this thing. Like, okay, am I really supposed to root for Peter Fonda at some point? Because I never, ever got there, and he just seemed like a total jerk. So how do you end a movie like that? Well, this movie ends with all three of them crashing into a train and dying in a huge explosion.
Awesome. Stunned, speechless.
Like maybe I still haven't decided, because it's a fantastic ending, really, but an ending to what? I'm like, well, it's not like it elevates the rest of the film up till then. At the very least, it's like, you know what? If you were lukewarm on everything, what about this thing? Like, here you go. I honestly don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I can say that.
No, I like that ending. I think it's just perfect for that movie, though. I think it's perfect for those characters too, and it
does fit, sure.
Especially at the end where you have those moments of the last things that Larry says is he calls her a dingleberry. The last thing that she says, she's like, I just want to call home, and can you tell him to stop calling me a dingleberry?
No, I think her very last line is, I think I'm ready to unload, which in 70s terms, I guess means go home or get out of the car or leave the party. Probably.
But it's like, it could go a lot of different ways with that.
She said it a few times. They had an argument about it earlier.
But I love that it's just this kind of like, they've bickered this entire time and it's gotten bad. I mean, they're brother and sisters, basically. It's how the whole movie is, essentially.
Sure.
But they bicker and they get through all of this harrowing stuff. And there's a moment early on where Larry's trying to drive home a point, and there are two semis that are coming through the other side of the road, and he basically just drives right through them. Like he flips the car and drives right through them. And it's kind of one of his like ways of being, like, I'm invincible. Everything, like, yeah, it's dangerous, but I'll be fine, And I love this, that he's not really paying attention to the road. He looks behind him, he's talking to them, he pays attention to the road, and it's one of those moments of like, driving like anybody else, I would have been fine. But he was driving the way he was driving every other time, and he was not lucky this time.
Yeah,
luck runs out, my dude.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. It is funny in that way too, because the whole third act, like the whole showdown, hinges on him out driving the police through the like grid. I forget what they call it, like grid work system of streets in these fields. They're not in fields, but it's like backwoods kind of country, barely asphalt roads. So he outdrives them. You don't ever see any of the cops. You just hear her yelling stuff out and him taking turns, and there's a close-up that's like, oh, he's really doing it, and you're like, he's really doing it, and then they hit the train. So okay. I think the best part about any of it is what the director John Huff, or I guess that's how you would say his last name, said about this. You ready?
I love
from
it.
The Wikipedia. You're gonna love this thing. This is gonna make it worse. I'll tell you ahead of time. He said the lead characters did not die in the script. Quote, I did that myself without asking or telling anybody. Consequently, we would not be able to make a sequel because the leading characters were all killed. But a statement I really wanted to make was, speed kills. If you're going to drive 100 miles an hour, you'll get yourself killed, so you better not speed. That was the statement he wanted to make with Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. I got the title right.
Well, I think that... what did I just say? If he was driving like a normal,
ridiculous, man. That's a statement you wanted to make.
If he was driving like a normal person, he would have been fine. They would have gotten away with the money. They would have had a nice life. They could have gone and got margaritas. But no.
It only makes sense in that I could see a director who thought that making a movie like this that looks like other movies that say something and ends up being something that's just don't go fast.
And what are your stars for this?
Oh, so that's a easy 5 stars
out of 63.
That's, I feel like you like it more than that, but we can compromise.
Oh, I like it more. Yeah.
That was Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, probably everybody. If you want to participate, it's podcast at bookclubformovies.com. Next week, it begins.
That's right.
The sequel to Octoberween, everybody. Rubbing your hands together like you know what movie we're going to do.
I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You
That's
actually
unexpected.
know.
I
You
just
actually
knew it
know
was,
what you know what movie we're gonna do. I already told you about this.
You.
Yeah. Since all of the Stephen King discussion has been in the back of my head since I just saw it, chapter 2. I think we're gonna jump back here a little bit further. We're gonna go check out The Mist. I think that'll be the beginning of Halloweeners, of October Wieners. Now,
I'm sorry, it's just October Ween. That's okay.
The Weenus of Octinus. Mm-hmm. So there is something that I'm going to recommend. Okay. This is a Frank Darabont joint. It's got some great actor.
Really?
Oh yeah, the Darabont. Two things about this movie, one of which I will not tell you because you'll find out actually when you do the Wikipedia for it. Which, if you look anything up about this movie, don't do it before the film.
Okay, no, I don't. Yeah.
Great movie, Marcia Gay Harden, Thomas Jane, Captain Holt, as you found out. Frank Darabont, big.
Like he directed it or wrote it?
Yeah. He might have actually written the script too, but he definitely directed it. And he filmed it. He originally wanted to film it in black and white, and the studios kind of lost their minds and were like, no, we can't do it. But he was able to digitally do it for the DVD releases.
Oh, really?
So if you can find the black and white version, it is superior to the color version for a few reasons. And
I can make a black and white version.
And I will tell you the reasoning ahead of time. Considering this movie is a small budget movie, this was never a big budget film, and the movie has some effects to it. In black and white, the reason he always wanted to shoot it in black and white, regardless of the money he had, was because he was making a B movie, but a quality Stephen King. And when you watch it, it'll kind of click what I'm talking about. And so in black and white, some of that stuff it pops a little bit more in an old timey way that what Darabont wanted to. What he wanted to
do the black and white version of The Mist next week with us if you can, or this week, and we'll talk about it next week.
Correct.
However you want to do it. Who knows when this is coming out?
Yeah.
That's podcast at bookclubformovies.com. Again, do we have a rest of the show? I mean, I have a couple that I can do. I don't know.
I have nothing.
Nothing?
No.
All right. Take these real quick.
Okay.
Ready? Bumblebee.
No, I didn't like that movie at all. Didn't even finish
you watch
it.
That movie?
It was so awful. We actually turned it off about halfway through it. We never do that.
Really?
Both of us were like, "This is garbage. This movie is that was terrible from start to the middle of it. Was just boring as hell."
Okay, so who knows what happened to me?
No, you're probably right. We were just like, "This is stupid. It's boring." I'm not. I'm clearly past Transformers.
Well, so this is a Transformers movie, and maybe that's where the bar got set. I don't have a lot of good things to say about Transformers movies. I mean, I've heard some people talk about secretly liking Michael Bay for spectacle and whatnot. I just never found that really interesting all that well.
I like Michael Bay. I've got no problem with his movies.
I like the guy.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with his movies. Some hit for me, some hit for me, some don't. The guy isn't a guaranteed hit.
Some hit for you?
Yeah. And if you're going to...
I'm sorry. What, Bad Boys and The Rock, and you're right.
There we go. Don't ever talk badly about The Rock.
I'm sorry.
You foolish man.
Transformers movies specifically, then, I don't have a lot of good things to say about them. Okay? I'm being so kind right now. Bumblebee, darned if they didn't figure some things out. It's not great, but there are a couple things. The movie starts with a war on Cybertron, and maybe I'm imagining some of this, but it seems to me that they've recreated the Transformers more lovingly than in the rest, because sure, they look cool, robots and things. Here, I swear they got the colors right. Something about the design just clicked more this time. That in that opening scene, for the first time since any of this new Transformers stuff has been coming out, I felt a little bit like I did when I watched the cartoon back in the day.
Okay, fair.
So, good beginning for that reason at the very least.
Sure.
But this is a prequel, and as such, set it in the 80s, when Transformers were in their prime. No pun intended. Pun intended. I don't care. I think it works. Like, I wish they would have done that forever ago. It makes perfect sense. And I think, again, I don't know if this is happenstance. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say it's not. I feel like while, yes, this isn't treading any new ground, and it's what they haven't been able to shake from that franchise is we're going to put this out and kind of no matter what we do, it's going to make $1 zillion. So whatever. You know, you always got that feeling, especially from the later ones, like, who cares, you know, if the story makes sense at all? Like, it's printing money. I feel like somebody cared somewhere, and that might have been filtered out here and there, but I feel like I got traces of somebody caring somewhere. And it being in the 80s is a large part of that. The soundtrack, tell me, is this maybe where you switched off? Because that might be the worst part.
Nope.
No? Okay.
The soundtrack wasn't great either, but that's not where I switched off.
Well, the soundtrack isn't great in that the songs are great, but it's just one after another, just over the head. Like Morrissey, Duran Duran, Phil Collins, Tears for Fears. It's literally just, here's an 80s song that you've heard on that infomercial every day for your life.
That's why it wasn't a great soundtrack.
It was horrible, the way they just did this, just punching you in the face over and over.
But that was not where I...
Okay.
No.
Was it cinematically? Because I kind of feel like this movie looked pretty gorgeous.
All right. You really want to get into this?
No, I mean, maybe.
The War on Cybertron. That was cool. That was kind of neat. Did nothing for me. Like, okay. All right, maybe on the big screen, that would have been cool. It just looked like another Transformers mess to me. It wasn't any better. Like, sure, things looked cleaner, I guess, but the fight, it was like the whole thing was just a jumble of crap on the screen for me. Then we get to Earth. I don't know if, like, Haley Steinfeld, whatever her name is, awesome in True Grit. God, she was just like another one. It's like fluorescent light just talking to a wall. There's nothing there. And I didn't ever care about Bumblebee, so having the idiot car that, like, there was nothing there for me. Like, sure, it looked great, but the story didn't give, like, I was not in the first few minutes, like that battle, if it doesn't catch you, that you're done with the movie. And the battle did nothing for me. Like, I didn't care about it happening there. I didn't care when he got to Earth. I didn't care about her whinging about the car. Like, whatever, man. I'm glad you dug it.
Well, it's weird that the battle would turn you off because it's so not indicative of the rest of that film.
No, not because the rest of the film has almost nothing to do with that. No, I get that. It's
just a small film like that intro. Yes, while maybe I got some of the feels, belongs in the other movies.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. And again, it's that doesn't grab me into the movie, and then the follow-up sequences don't grab me either. Like him getting there and him, getting onto Earth and getting into the fight with Starscream or whoever the hell it was. It wasn't Starscream because that was first Decepticon gets killed, right?
I don't actually recognize the two bads that make it to Earth throughout this movie.
Whatever. They both get myrtleized or whatever. But I didn't like none of the human characters. Not one of them did I care about. And holy crap, dude, John Cena, just... I wish I couldn't see him. I just, like, another, like, I especially now, I hate that role for anybody. I just hate it. It's so trite. The military guy who's always immediately, yes, sure. I hate everything, kill it, we gotta kill it. Okay, I love it, it's my friend. It's just so stupid. It's like, I hate it. It's a trope that I haven't liked for years. I really excessively disliked it here because I am so familiar with John Cena, the wrestler, and he's just doing that, which is exactly what he should be doing. He's The Rock, man. Put him in the same movie. It's the same movie. The Rock could be doing this. You put Cena in a Fast and Furious movie. Yeah, he could do that. It works. They're the same guys. And I don't even want to hear The Rock. The Rock's got more range. Maybe right now, John Cena has not been given the shot to do more range. Give it to him, and I bet he does it just as well. It's
with some years behind him. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and it's like...
It's all, you're right. No, it's not treading new ground with any of that. Like Haley Steinfeld's arc is that her father died and that she hasn't been able to move on with her life. She gave up diving because of it, and that's kind of the thing that she had and they had together. It all leads up to the end where she has to dive to save Bumblebee. Honestly, somehow, again, yes, they're this is not new. This is all just you see it coming a mile away. I don't know how it worked for me. Maybe it's inexplicable in the way the plot from the other movies is inexplicable, but this time around,
you're not the only one. That's why we watched it. Like a whole bunch of people that I respect, and this did not impact that. I mean, I don't respect them anymore, but it didn't impact the respect I had for them.
I'm glad you didn't respect me already before this conversation.
Yeah, you blew that a long time ago, Pally.
Why do you think we started the show?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a way for me to vent. A lot of people said it was really good, and we both were just like,
I don't know, really good.
No, I mean, especially in comparison to the other Transformers films.
Okay, in comparison, very good. Freaking Citizen Kane.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything bad about the movie, so I went in with not high expectations, but I went in with, okay, cool. Like, I'm excited to watch a silly movie, and it was not silly enough, and and it was, I don't know, man. It just was not good.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's inexplicable. Yeah, maybe that's our midway point.
That was a bad movie. And I'm glad that I didn't.
It could have been.
I'm glad that I didn't get to the point that I knew was going to happen that you just confirmed for me. That for a movie that I cut off, which again, doesn't happen very often, I generally will go back and find out how it ended. Yeah, just dump this one right out. I was like, as soon as we turned it off, we turned on a better movie. What movie was it? Anything? Don't know.
Again, you could be right. Maybe, 40 minutes into the movie, I'm like, this isn't a trash fire yet? Like, this is good? No, it's just not a trash fire. I don't know, okay? I won't.
You're allowed to think it's good.
It just loses so much. And I guess that's maybe telling, is that we're talking about the movie in terms of what it doesn't have. It doesn't have that high contrast Michael Bay look that I hate. It doesn't have all the explosions. I will actually disagree that, especially in the action towards the end, it's choreographed. I know where the robots are at in the space of the movie. That is
shocking in every respect.
Yes, it's bizarre, and a lot of that is because it's so simple. This is a small movie. Like, they cash in, or try to, very often on scale, and how Bumblebee is, this big robot against this, tiny girl against the sunset type thing. Like, they go for that, and they're not shy about it. And it's all so obvious and somehow still works. I don't know. I can't justify it.
You don't have to.
Like, my notes just say, the writing isn't an affront to all that's holy! ! Not anything new, but they translated it. It works. At the end, one of my bigger gripes, I will say, is that Bumblebee is actually... Did you... Okay. I know neither of us are into him, period, or ever were, or whatever. Did he exist before now, or was he created for the new movies? I don't remember even. At the beginning of this movie, we see him in like top warrior form. Like, he's Prime's right-hand man, and he's kicking butt, and he's freaking awesome. And I was like, oh, dang, if we're going to get like crazy good Bumblebee, I'm kind of into this already. He fails, gets sent to Earth, and from that point on is basically a child. And I didn't ever fully understand why. I guess later on they're like, he lost some of his memory because he gained some of it back, and then he becomes kind of a good fighter again. It doesn't really land. Like, he still is that child the whole time, and it's kind of lame. So that sucked. But just for once, it seemed like the direction wasn't an issue. Like, I don't know.
No, man, it's cool.
Talked longer than we should about it.
You liked it. It's like you're trying to get me to...
Try
to justify... No. You're trying to get me to justify why Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze is an excellent film. I'm not going to, because I don't need to. You can either watch it or shut your mouth.
Does that need to be justified?
No, it does not.
History has proven.
Yeah, Ernie Reyes Jr. is a champion. So
he's a treasure.
And he was truly a champion. I mean, literally a champion. He won at least one or two. I think he won the All Valley tournament once.
I need to also say I'm contractually obligated to, I was told to give my wife's opinion here. She, at the end of the movie, felt that there was not enough of Bumblebee talking by using different radio clips, and that if that were in there more, it would have been the difference between a bad and a good movie.
So it's a bad movie for her.
So yes, she didn't like it. Okay, everybody around me.
Okay, good.
Except for my daughter. Me and my 10-year-old.
Now let's talk about Wreck-It Ralph 2.
The other movie I watched was the latest. Okay, I haven't finished this movie, but I feel like I've seen enough of it to render an opinion
Okay.
on the latest Hellboy movie.
Oh, yeah. There's a reason I haven't brought it up.
It's not very... Oh, did you watch that too?
It was better than Bumblebee. I finished it.
The Hellboys are bad. The Bumblebees are good. What is going on?
Man, there were a lot of things. There were things in that movie that really could have worked well.
It's a gorier movie. I think David Harbour was an inspired... Like, just you think about David Harbour in Stranger Things. You're like, oh yeah, he's Hellboy. Like, that works.
Love that choice. There were a number of things. I hated the makeup.
The makeup was bad. How was it worse than the Del Toro one that came out however many years ago?
They had so many different ways to make that look better, and
it looked worse than the older movie.
That was, yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, I always liked that makeup. I thought it looked okay, but... It
looked perfect in the Del Toro movies, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, this did not look good.
No, it looked bad. This is such a tossed off... It's one of those tossed off scripts. Like, it's not anything that you felt like was labored over or even adapted well with love from the source material, even though I feel like there's more of that in here. Yes, it's disappointing.
Yeah. So the biggest disappointment for me with this was the fact that, number one, it's Neil Marshall, which is like just what the hell, man. That's
what did he do?
He did The Descent. He did.
I feel like people like that movie.
He did Dog Soldiers and Doomsday, and I think he directed a few episodes of Game of Thrones. So like he's got this track record of good movies. And I guess like this just had a ton of issues with it throughout, that David Harbour was pissed about stuff and was getting into fight, like he and Neil Marshall were getting into fights or something. But the fact that Mike Mignola was supposed to be involved in this was like heavily like there, and that if he was okay with this and let it go through, then I don't know if we should ever let him do anything with the property in terms of film again.
I'm sure he didn't. If he was involved, didn't have that much power. Like, they probably just wanted and probably needed his name on it, especially if Del Toro's was not.
Well, right, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
We don't know.
It was a disappointment to humble my error.
And that's Book Club for Movies this week, everybody. If you wanted to get at us, it's podcast again at bookclubformovies.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter as well. Who knows when this will come out, but it'll be after the last ones that came out, and you can then remind me what we're doing next week.
And we're going to be watching The Mist.
The Mist, right?
Again,
yes,
streaming on Hulu. Look for the black and white version if you can. Otherwise, Hulu will provide you with all of the misting needs that you have.
I'm gonna come back having accidentally watched The Fog,
which is an awesome movie. We can watch
great discussion. Oh, okay. Well, is that a horror movie too?
Yeah, it's a John Carpenter flick.
What if we just do The Mist? We do The Fog. What else we got?
It's got Jamie Lee Curtis in it too.
The Marine Layer. Is that one? That's
right.
Gotta be, isn't it?
The Marine Layer.
We get a lot of that around here from the ocean. Scary.
Time is such a funny thing. You turn around, it's gone. So many things I meant to say, but the words are